Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello, everyone. Hola a todos en español, a toda Latinoamérica. Hello, the world. Ni hao, China, Hong Kong, and everyone. This is our last podcast of the year. This is the 31st episode, and I'm with, honestly, thank you guys for being here, Max, Chen, and Matthew
What's up?
Lee. Thank you, guys.
Hola.
This is gonna be awesome because we're going to focus on the highlights of the 2024, and we also gonna talk about a little bit of the championship in Dallas, which Max was there. He was, in the what was your job there?
Commentator.
Commentator. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
commentating the fights, and of course, he saw everything. I was in the back. Matthew was busy, so I think Max is the best guy, to talk about that. So, guys, thank you for being here. Again, Matthew, Max. So, this is your podcast too. So, let's start with this, man.
All right. So, what's the first subject?
So what about if we talk about a little bit of the Dallas the World Championship?
Oh man, yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was my first time commentating so many, especially so many days in a row. I've commentated before a little bit here and there, but that was first time doing what I think it was like 5 days in a row. So that was fun. But that was good. Like I got a chance to. Well, I had a good seat for all the fights. That was nice. And then on top of that, I got to practice commentating one day after another, which is helpful. But I just figured like I wasn't gonna make it too complicated. I was just gonna just kind of see what Mark's doing, try to fill in the gaps as much as possible, and yeah, after a while, it started flowing pretty nicely. I really didn't have to think about it too much. Didn't like didn't make any notes or anything. I just kind of wanted to just kind of fly off the cusp and see how it works out. That's usually how I think I function a little better anyway, especially with something like commentating. I think if I have too much stuff to try to remember, I mean,
But
it'll
you
probably be
did
good for some
awesome.
people, but for me, it doesn't work that
Yeah,
well.
you did awesome, bro. I was watching the videos after the competition, and everything was like, like set up. It was. I really like the many people from other countries. They told me that everything was really really good in the Sanda area. Like everything was synchronized. The fighters, commentators,
Yeah,
one and like on and on and on. Like we never stop any fight unless for I don't know, KO or something like that. But everything was really synchronized. I really love that, and everyone was happy with that, man. And
yeah.
but hey, Matthew, and what do you think about Dallas? Because you was there too, man.
Oh man, I think it was equal parts stressful and equal parts fun. So like first of all,
Especially
yeah.
your job.
Hey, look, Max. Here's the thing. You're a veteran. You probably have more experience comparing the World Wushu Championships more than any of us, to be honest with you. For me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to see it in the U.S. I think it was a great collaboration for the Wushu community to get together in the nation. And to be quite frank, I don't think that's ever going to happen again in our lifetime. I feel like we peaked in 2023.
Well,
I
what do you mean?
think
What do you
that
mean you don't think it's going to happen again in our lifetime?
Well, what I mean by that is the first time that the World Wushu Championships was held was in 1995 in Baltimore, and it
Yeah.
didn't come back until 2023. That's 28 years. So by the time it comes back around to us again, we're probably going to be like old men by that time, to be honest with you.
But it's still in our lifetime. Aha.
Yeah,
You know what? You got me. You got me.
yeah, man.
But yeah, no, it's
Unless you're
it-
planning on getting a motorcycle.
oh, like a Harley Davidson. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, those things are death machines.
Yeah, man.
Nah, don't worry. I promise I won't have a midlife crisis and chase after those things.
It's not that I'm afraid, it's that I'm too afraid.
Yeah, just buy a Corvette and be free, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah. So okay, guys. So what are your expectations about like what do you think about the competition that time? Because I really like I was in the bag, with the athletes, and the way I see the World Games was different because you was actually, well, Max, he was commentating, he saw everything. And Max, what do you think about like from 2023 to 2024, but in the way that you was in front of everyone, watching every fighter, every coach, every country process. I don't know, man. I don't know if you want to mention something like that.
I mean, quite honestly, it wasn't too different. I mean, it was a lot smaller because of like all like the political shit going on. I think a lot of countries couldn't make it, so that was a bit unfortunate. I do feel bad about that Korean fighter at 70 kilos that was not able to fight. That was kind of sad for him. I don't know if that was his fault. I don't know if his
what was
fault
his
that
name?
was.
Was it Song Gi-chol?
Sure. I don't know. I can't remember. There's so many people, The fact that I even remember that is quite amazing, to be honest.
I mean, dude, I gotta be honest. I'm a little bit biased because I'm half Korean, but the Korean wushu team, both Talu and Sanda, are top athletes. And
oh yeah,
But-
100%.
let me tell you, I was like, I was in the back in charge of the athletes, and I did my best to bring that athlete. I did my best. Like,
did he leave the venue? What happened?
no, yeah. The thing is, I'm sorry for interrupting on this, but the thing was,
How dare you?
yeah, the thing was like we all like we told the country like, hey guys, we just gonna stop for for a lunch break. Please don't leave the venue because maybe we can start early or something. But we respect the time. The thing is, this guy, he just lived to his hotel room. He slept, and he never woke up. So when I start calling the country, Korea versus I don't remember, and we did everything to stop, like the process. So we like all the Koreans, they ran to the hotel, and unfortunately, like I did my best with Marcus and everything. Like, hey man, this guy, he's coming. It's like we can stop, and he's of course it's not our fault. So it was it was really bad for him because when he woke up, it was too late for him. But again, that happens, man. Like as a former athlete, it's your responsibility.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
No, exactly. We can turn this into a teachable moment. If you're in a competition, especially in a once in a lifetime competition representing your country, if you still want to compete, you do not leave the venue. You can rest, you can chill, but you do not leave the venue, or you forfeit your opportunity to possibly compete.
I mean, to be fair though, like sometimes there may have been some miscommunication, like because a lot of times, like depending on how many people you have, you'll just fight once a day. Because like I've been to Worlds 3, 5, 7. I've been to 4 Worlds, I think, at least. No, and then Olympics 5. So I've only fought once a day. Like it was very rare that I had 2 fights in one day. So it's like I imagine it's probably been the same for him, that there's not too many times where he's fought twice one day. So I can understand where some miscommunication may have happened. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's not. I would say maybe it's a little bit of his fault, but may not be his fault. Like there could have been some miscommunication there. Whatever it is, I mean, it's not your guys' fault either, though.
Okay, that's fair.
Sure.
Nah, yeah, of course. Like at the end, it was really bad, because he was one of the best fighters of that category.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing him fight again.
Yeah,
dude, he was one of my favorite fighters.
Yeah, for sure.
The way he goes, he out like a box. Yeah,
he's a gold, silver medal for sure.
Yeah,
that guy. He was fighting really good. And hey, Max, like, what about like if we talk about your experience commentating and watching those fighters, because I would like to touch the heavyweight, the last one, China versus Kazakhstan, I think.
Yeah, the one where you said the chin strap doesn't even fit over his
yeah,
mouth.
yeah,
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
That fight,
true.
bro. Please tell us.
I gotta be honest. I remember it was a good fight, but I don't remember a lot of details. I remember China was huge, though. My God, and I do remember Kazakhstan putting up a really good fight. That I remember. He tried his best, but you know what? Like, people say, martial arts size doesn't matter. That is not true. Size does matter.
Oh yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah. Heavyweight, man. One punch. I can remember. I can hear. Boom.
You're right.
Boom,
Yeah.
bro. Like it was a scary fight, for both of them, because a punch or kick in heavyweight, it's very, very dangerous.
But if I remember correctly, I feel like China pretty much stayed in control most of the time. I think, but it's been over a year, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
But-
I did have the opportunity to interview him, and that interview still hasn't been released for whatever reason. But when I talked to him, he was definitely outscoring him with the lead leg kicks. And I think he pushed him and to the Lei Tai, and then he accidentally fell off himself. But the referee or the platform judge didn't rule it a push off or ring out of the Lei Tai. But regardless, he still was able to stay ahead on points. And then it got to a point where Nur Sultan, I think is the name of the
Sultan. Yeah, Sultan.
Yeah, how do you remember all the names?
He literally was like, come on, right? And they ended up kind of clashing a little bit. And what Ye Xiang, the Chinese fighter, told me was his coach told him to, stay cool, maintain a calm head, stay technical, don't get in a firefight. And then he would win it simply. Yeah.
Yeah, he was bleeding. He was bleeding because Sultan, he was throwing it's China, man. I need to do my best. Like, I don't care. He gonna win. I'll do my best. He was throwing bombs.
Listen, great effort by him. That I do remember. I don't remember so many details, but I remember a great effort by Kazakhstan.
Who I do feel bad for is Michel Zamar, who Edgar, I believe you interviewed previously.
What country is he from?
He was from Lebanon, I believe, and Ye Xiang fought him before that and threw a head kick. And then my Sanda coach, Mark Lorenzo, who unfortunately we couldn't get, he served as a co-commentator alongside Max Chen. Yeah. He said, I didn't even think the big man could get his foot up there, and he literally knocks him down.
Yeah, with Michel, the jetty, Samar Lebanon.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that now.
Yeah, he got knocked out with the kick from the China heavyweight. But yeah, he was again, man, like in that fight, any fight in heavyweight, it's dangerous. Like, you can finish in the first 10 seconds, or you can go.
The big boys.
They're big boys. Yeah. And what do you think about the USA team, man? Like, I'm very proud because we got several 3 medals. Am I wrong? Bruce, Mackenzie, and Audrey got silver or bronze?
Bronze.
Okay, and Mackenzie
was also bronze.
Man, but
silver and 2 bronze. Yeah,
man, but pretty good. Man, that's awesome.
I remember Bruce had a little bit of a controversy with Egypt.
Oh yeah, with Egypt. Yeah.
Man, well. Not because I'm in the USA or something, but man, if you watch the video, it was a clear punch.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Egypt was winning that fight until they weren't. And the thing about it is, and Sensei Seth actually describes this very, very well. Wushu Sanda, which is the amateur Sancho, as Max, as you know it as Sancho previously, operates under a point system because it's amateur. It's almost like amateur or Olympic boxing where you score points. But there is the risk of a knockout, and what usually is statistically the most common cause of a knockout, it's your hands, right? And we know that because Bruce is the nephew of Coach Li Yiyuan, or Ian Lee, who was a national Taiwanese boxer before he converted over to the national Taiwanese Sanda team. He's got hands, right? So, and he was able to rack up a couple shots that rocked Egypt, and eventually he got him with, I think, a 3-2, a hook and a cross right behind the earpiece. And that.
Do you remember what what the controversy was? Because I wasn't sure what was going on. Because to me,
Well,
it seemed pretty clear cut.
so,
But
I mean, here's the thing: the guy had wobbly legs, and Mark, I believe, also commented on this too, and he was able to face the referee or the platform judge. But here's the thing: the referee or the platform judge also reserves the right to call the match if he or she determines that the athlete cannot continue, and the guy's legs were gone. Like I don't get what he says.
He was knocked out. Yeah.
Yeah. So and let's keep in mind this is amateurs. It's not professional, right? We're not trying to get anybody killed or seriously hurt. You know, if you can't answer the call within the 8 count, that's it.
Yeah, and if they use discretion, they don't think you're well enough to continue. That's their discretion.
No, it was.
It's unfortunate, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
He was sitting for more than 2 minutes, 1 minute. I don't remember the time.
Yeah,
but
and I remember Mark.
Yeah, it's like you can't let it go that long and and be like, oh no, you let him back and let him back in because then he has too much time to recover.
Yeah, and I remember Mark was sitting beside you, Max, and he was literally saying, like, if you let this go on for this long and then let the fight continue, you are stealing this from USA. And I mean, they were right. You know, like
yeah. They made the call. That's it. I mean, even if it was a bad call, that was the call. That's it. You know, nothing you could do about that. I mean, I feel like I've had some bad calls against me, but it is what it is. You know, it's a fight game.
Yeah. So
it happens. You know.
Yeah. USA had a really good performance in Dallas. I really like the way Mackenzie fought. Everyone, guys, everyone. It was happy. Vincent, unfortunately, he had a really a good opponent in the first fight. It was Clemente, I think, from Philippines.
Correct. Tabugara Jr. from the Philippines. I believe the Filipino wushu team is also where they field athletes, the team Lei Tai, where I think at one point,
Clemente,
the Sanda athletes all held belts at one point at one championship.
Yeah, and Clemente actually is one of the top 3 of the world. Like if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Philippines team has been historically has been pretty tough.
Yeah, so Vincent, he had a really good fight in the worlds. Like he fought really good. I think unfortunately, like the experience from Clemente, was the motive. He won the fight. But honestly, I love the way Vincent fought. I wasn't able to watch all the fights because I was in the back again. But that's why, guys. Like, what at the end? What do you think about the performance from the USA team?
I think their winner loss, all the performances were pretty good. Like, I think the athletes are becoming a lot more well-rounded as well. Like, they're using everything. Like, I got to be honest. Even when I was fighting, like, I would get some throws here and there, but I mean, the wrestling was still always where I was weakest.
Yeah,
I had a hard time finding wrestling places I could wrestle and stuff like that. So, and half the time I would just doing Muay Thai fights leading up to there, and then my only my only Sancho fights would be team trials and then worlds. So like these guys, they seem like they're all working their all facets of the game. The catches are looking good. The wrestling's looking good. The strikes is looking good. So it's good. Everyone's involved.
You know what? Tell me, guys. Every world competition, there's a little change in the fight. Like when I remember the last time I fought in 2015, people was pushing everyone, pushing, to go straight and like no injuries, whatever. This time, what I see was a lot of tryout, takedowns.
A lot of what? Takedowns.
Shuaijiao, Chinese wrestling.
Tryout and takedowns. Like I saw a lot, and that's something when you say like, okay, this is a good development and it's a good performance from other countries, because now they see, even like from the guys who come from the junior competitions and then they jump to adult. You can see the difference. They starting to do a lot of tryout and takedowns than before, because before, and you was there, Chen, like Max, you want to fight, punches, kicks. Right now, I think their development in the wrestling, as you said, and takedowns, it was a lot. Am I wrong? Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't
No,
know.
I think yeah, I think they're all just becoming very well rounded. Like everyone's pretty adequate everywhere, or at least most athletes, not all the athletes, but most athletes are pretty well rounded out.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed.
Yeah, that's the evolution, and I know because we saw that in 2024, different in Pan Am's, because in Pan Am's in America, we still want to fight. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
we want, like, do more points than go to the easy way. Maybe because unfortunately, again, as you said, in US, many countries can't come because of the visa things, whatever. But Brazil, well, they have a really good wrestling.
oh yeah, they
Yeah,
always have.
yeah. Mexico, well, Mexico is more like we're Mexicans, punches, kicks. Uh, US, we saw a lot of more like a clash and the new guys.
Yeah,
And like Vincent, he fought like beautiful. He was doing a really good fight, takedowns, kicks, head kicks, punching, pointing, go back 1, 2. Like, I really like that from Vincent. Very, very calm down, cool, doing his fight. Um, I don't know, guys, if you want to mention something from the worlds to the Pan Ams, and what do you think we need to work, like, in what kind of development we need to do for next year for Brazil, actually, for the worlds?
you talking about like for the U.S. team?
Like, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think the best thing for them is to try to just get more essential fights in. I mean, that's definitely. I know where I was lacking. I mean, it's still pretty hard to find. You got to travel to fight, and you got to, like the thing is, a lot of organizations, like in Muay Thai or MMA, if they want you to fight on their show, they're gonna fly you in and everything, and so that makes it easier for guys to go fight. But Sancho, unfortunately, it's not really like that. So it makes things a lot tougher, and it's going to
Yeah.
make the pool a lot smaller. But
Yes.
like I think if they want to do well, they got to seek out those the Sancho fights. So they're not only doing like Muay Thai or MMA fights. I think if you can't find Sancho fights, MMA fights are the next best thing to prepare you for that, but it's still different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still very different. So I would say if anything, if the U.S. fighters can find more essential fights and do more fights just like that throughout the year, that'll definitely bring up their skill level and just keep them sharper for that kind of game.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, I think Max kind of hit on the nail. I do think that he echoes a lot of what, let's say, Paris Moran and his coach Alex Cisney have been saying for quite a while, since like the pandemic, when I think the USWKF was hosting online seminar series, and they interviewed Sanda athletes like Alex and like Paris, and they were saying more competitions. We need more sport specific competitions. So
Yeah.
To your point, Max, like if we want to do well in amateur rule Sanda, we got to have more actual, like I guess for lack of a better word, like wrestlers use this term and grapplers use this term, mat time. You need time on the Lei Tai. We can go. Let's call it Lei Tai time, right? We'll make it sports specific. Lei Tai time to get that experience.
That's legit. Yeah, because like fighting on the Lei Tai is different too. Like even if you're doing an MMA fight, like I feel like in an MMA fight, in some ways, it's easier to move around and strike just because you don't have to worry about getting pushed out.
Yes.
When you're on the Lei Tai, like you can't necessarily dance around like that anymore because you have to worry about getting pushed out. So it forces you to engage with the wrestling a little bit more, even if you don't want to engage. So I mean, yeah, the game is different. The game is different.
I remember you said that in your interview, one of your interviews in Tai Chi Salon.
Oh, did I say that? What did I say?
You said the difference between amateur and professional Sanda, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Amateur being standout, as you knew it back then,
Yeah.
was that because you can get pushed off the Lei Tai for points, and being pushed off twice under the
you lose the round.
you lose the round.
It's big.
Forces you to engage, right? Because you don't
Yeah.
want to fall.
Yeah, it forced you to engage with the wrestling a lot more. Like, that was always my weak point. If I could have, I would have probably stayed a little bit more on the edge and try to hit, move. But you're a little afraid to go to the edge now. So now, like, I gotta put forward a little bit more. I gotta stand my ground a little bit more. It just changes the game so much. So yeah, if you can get more mat time,
Yeah.
like competing like that, I mean, that's gonna do wonders for anyone who's on the team.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I really lose fights, a lot of fights, because of that. You've been, maybe you, like, I remember being winning in points and then push out and like, what the, like, what happened, man? Like, because of that, like, we need more and more and more experience fighting in the Lei Tai, and to understand the rules. Something that I really like from the new guys, and because I right now I'm focused on juniors, like in my team, and something that I saw in nationals this year, 2024. Speaking of highlights, it's like the new generation. They're coming different. Like, they're coming stronger. I think they're competing in the different level than before in nationals. You know what I'm talking about? Like I think coaches are getting more experience. Coaches are getting more like a knowledge about the junior world, the Panams, and I think, like, in my case, I'm really working in that development. Like, I have um, my own strategy with juniors, and I think it's working.
What is the age range for the juniors?
Right now it's 12-year-old, right? The children category,
Yeah.
11, 12, or 9. No, not no, it's
So there are kids, and then there's
children.
juniors that you see at the Junior World Wushu Championships, right?
12-year-old, yeah, 11, 12-year-old, yes.
12-year-old to 17, I guess.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So like that's what I mean. Like, we are working on a new generation, and I know those kids, they're going, because we saw in Panams, like, man, kids can fight, some of them. And that's one of the highlights that I saw in nationals. A lot of like, I remember I had fights, like, how many fights in nationals with my kids? Several fights, several fights, several fights. And I not even, I couldn't be a judge because I was coaching and coaching and coaching, and that was awesome. So now we have more population. Actually, you can see here in the picture, we have more population and kids, than young kids and adults.
Mhm.
We're having more. So I think we need to focus a lot on those talents, and making or creating, like, there's like Coach Lee's son, man,
Oh yeah.
he's destroying the category, man. And now that he fights really, really good. He's really good. Like he have everything. He have good sanda, good boxing, good wrestling, even good jiu-jitsu. He knows the fight. He knows the fight, and I know that kid one day he going to be world champion. Of course, easy.
Yeah, when you start at a young age like that, doing the right things, man, it's great.
He really doing beautiful. He doing really beautiful, and I believe that is one of the key in the next year from the USA team. I don't know, guys, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's great that Coach Lee can like have his son do that. I feel like it's a little bit of luck because the kid's got to be interested.
Yeah.
So And then, of course, good parenting and coaching as well.
Yeah.
Because, if you parent the wrong way, if you coach the wrong way, push them too hard, they may just lose all interest. So the fact that he's been able to train his son, and his son seems interested in wanting to do that, that's good. Then, that's the same thing. Like sometimes, even though I don't have kids, I'm like, I want my kids to be active, but it's like, how do you get them to like love it? You know what I mean? That's the tricky part, I think.
Yeah.
But Coach Lee so far has done that with the son, and so that's it's wonderful.
Yeah. Matthew?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I second that. I feel like Mason is definitely a standout. Funny story about Mason. Sensei Seth, when he went down to Lubbock to train with Coach Lee and do his Sanda video, which I think is now titled "Chinese Kickboxing is Fast." One of his favorite videos of the year, I think he said it was. He was invited to a cookout with Coach Lee. Every time people visit Coach Lee down in Lubbock, he always does a cookout like on Saturday or something like that, right? And Coach Lee told this funny story about Mason, where at first Mason really wasn't interested in Sanda. He didn't like it. Hey, Mason, listen, if you grow up and you see this video, please don't kill me. I'm just saying what your dad said for historical accuracy, all right? He said that Mason was kind of a sore loser. He didn't like losing. He didn't like getting pushed. He didn't like getting pressured. And then Coach Lee said one thing that changed his mind. He said, Mason, you don't understand. If you become a Sanda champion, you can get all the pussy in the world. Now, here's the thing. He probably didn't say that. I don't think Mason had any conception of what that was when he's a kid, but I feel like he may have said that to make Sensei Seth laugh. But that's the one story I remember in terms of.
I'm feeling pretty motivated right now.
The two things that Coach Lee said the first time he had Sanda seminar series at Goes Kung Fu back in, I think, 2015. That's when I first started like relearning everything that I was doing wrong. He said, in life only two things really matter: pussy and money. And I was like, what the fuck?
But that's a motivation at the end. Like as a father, like right now, I'm coaching my own daughter. She's 6-year-old, and she just got her first white sash in Sanda, and it's very difficult because now, like, first you was an athlete and then coach, and then father and coach is very hard.
I'm sure that's really hard.
It's very hard, bro. It's more when it's a girl,
and especially when they're close to you too.
Yes, and I can tell by Corey, man. Like her daughter, is amazing. Corey's daughter.
Aria,
it's amazing. She's really amazing.
Didn't she do the demonstration with Mason?
Yes, the opening ceremonies.
Yeah.
The opening ceremonies, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, before I forget, as long as we're talking about juniors, I do want to give an honorable mention to Kang Huynh, one of Vincent Mung's students. When I saw him at Nationals, he was very, very technical. He had very good counter kicking, very, very sharp. I think that he's definitely part of that next generation that really can push the level. Kang Huynh.
Oh, yeah. He went to the world, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
As well as David the Third Lopez's sister, Yaretsi Laroca. Yeah.
I don't think I know these people, but they sound good.
So I have 5 questions. First question is, this is for you guys. What was the best Sanda fight of 2024? And I'm talking about generals, like not US, world. Like, what do you think it was the best Sanda fight of 2024?
I'll answer this because my answer is pretty easy. I don't think I saw any, so I don't know.
Matt?
I mean, hard to top that one, Max. I'm just kidding. Listen, okay, just to summarize the highlights for 2024. This year was a big year for Sanda. I feel like in the US, Pan Am's definitely had some very competitive fights. I want to give a huge shout out to Jared Whitler, who had a very, very tough fight with Joao Teixeira. I honestly think that given the performance he had, he could have actually been a medalist, but unfortunately, the way that brackets fall, they ended up fighting first, and
Yeah.
he ended up giving Joao his toughest fight, and Joao ended up being like a 5-time Pan American champion at that point.
All right.
Yeah, so like I think by comparison, Alex Cisney is 4-time Pan American champion. Here's the thing: once you reach 5 times at internationals, like Muslim Salikhov is like 5-time world champion, I believe, and I feel like once you get that, you've pretty much reached like GOAT status, like greatest of all time. But yeah, another honorable mention I kind of want to bring up is the 2024 International Wushu Invitational Tournament. This was held in the first quarter of the year by the IWF, the International Wushu Federation, because Max, as you mentioned, there were a lot of visa issues coming into the U.S. And funny story about that is when we were helping to set up the venue, I was loading up all of the boxes that the Lei Tai came in, and everybody was eating, but no one was getting rid of all the trash. So I was just like, well, no one's gonna do it. I might as well do it, right? And Corey saw me, like from the corner of his eye, and he came up, he walked up, he said, "Hey, let me help you, Matthew," right? And we were just talking about, our thoughts on the development of Sanda and stuff, and just how tough of a situation we had diplomatically in terms of getting athletes to come into.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was a big pain in the ass.
Yeah, and the thing about that is, I asked him his opinion, and he's like, "Listen, man, we do a funny little sport where the government doesn't really know what we do. So when we tell them that we're holding an international event, and they're like, 'Yeah, what do you do again?' Oh, martial arts? Yeah, okay, we don't care, right?" And he's like, "Dude, you think that the government gives a 2 flying fucks about our sport? No, right?" So the fact of the matter is that that led to the IWF holding another tournament at the beginning of the year. And the reason why I bring that up is because that Korean athlete that ended up getting disqualified had to fight again, I suppose because he wanted to qualify for the Sanda World Cup next year. It got delayed till next year because I think that's unfortunate.
Wait, there's another way. There's another way he can qualify besides Worlds.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's new to me.
So because of the visa issue, they held an invitational wushu tournament in China where Taolu and Sanda athletes could go, and if they placed well, they could qualify for the World Cup for both Taolu and Sanda separately. So Song Gi-chol fought Mohsen Mohammad Saifi, and it was a really, really tough fight. Mohsen, for those that don't know, is in my opinion, he's the new Salikhov Muslim. He's.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah. You saw the fight between Lebanon and Iran in MMA in PFL?
No, I didn't see it.
It was amazing.
Is this the one where Mohsen ended up being the champion? He got the belt, right?
Yeah, Mohsen and I forgot his name. But it's
George Eid.
George, yes, and George, man, he was honestly like it's really cool to see 2 Sanda fighters fighting in the in MMA and like getting.
Oh, they're both Sanda fighters.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll get the fight and I'll send it to you, man.
Oh yeah, send it to me. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, and it's really cool, man, because that's one of the things that I'm being mentioned about, like the development of this sport. And Max says, like he mentioned about like, man, we need to go and fight 2 other different sports: MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, whatever, kickboxing, and many Sanda fighters. They're doing good. There's Paris, man. There's Paris Moran. He's doing awesome this year.
Yeah, no,
FC flyweight champion. He's defended his belt multiple times now.
Yeah, of course, he's doing awesome. I still waiting for his to be in UFC. He deserves to be there. And if you see how many Sanda fighters are doing MMA in UFC or PFL or any other, a lot. But unfortunately, many people don't know about that.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're doing awesome because we have all the skills to be in MMA.
I would say the biggest difference, one of the biggest differences for me when I started trying to, because even though I never got my MMA fight, I was trying to transition over that a while back, was the fact that I was used to like quick wrestling, meaning like, tying up, if nothing happens, just like like them breaking us.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like when I first started MMA sparring with guys, I still had that habit. I would tie up, and I would relax, and then I would get taken down. I was like, oh shit, that's right. Or I would get taken down, and then I would just like try to like slowly get up, and then they would like tackle me back down. I was like, oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So I had to, those instincts had to change a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, man, that's the truth. So second question for you. I don't know who was the standout athlete this year in US?
Oh.
Matthew.
Same answer as before for me.
Okay. Matthew.
Listen, I gotta. I'm a little bit biased because he's my friend, but I gotta give a shout out to Vincent Mung, who finally got gold at the 14th Pan American Wushu Championships.
Nice.
Yeah, he finished Brazil with a sidekick. I think he split his lip.
Yeah.
Actually,
yeah.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing. We had a similar situation with the visas for Pan Ams, but
really,
we not to minimize the competition, we still had the powerhouses come in. You know, Mexico, Brazil. These are some of the top competitors. They usually end up being finalists in the Sanda competition at Pan Ams. So, you know, Vincent still had his work cut out for him. We all did, honestly.
Yeah, Vincent.
So, yeah.
For me,
and I know he was so happy because I remember he was messaging me the last time we were both on the same team for Brazil 2022, which was my last Pan Ams. He got bronze and he lost to
Brazil
that time. So when he this past year, he was like, I'm gonna change that stupid bronze to a gold. And I was like, oh, okay, man, all right. And you gotta understand, a guy like Vincent has a championship mentality. You know, he was a Guosu Lei Tai world champion twice. He fights MMA, he's fought combat taekwondo. The guy loves to compete and he loves to win fair and square. So, you know, for him, I would say that losing honestly is one of those things that motivates him and it pushes him to be better, right? So when he finally wins, you know, dude, by the way, he must have been on a competition high because number one, he came up to me and he started grabbing both my hands and he's like, Matthew, no more bronze medal, no more bronze medal. And then we were out to lunch with his family and he's like, Matthew, if we go to Worlds of Brazil, I will sponsor you to come fly out with me. And I'm like, why would you do that? I don't even want to go.
Hey, you don't want to go to Brazil?
I'll go.
Bro, come on. That flight is insane. Look, I love, hey, here's the thing. Paula, if you're watching this, Marcus Alves, if you're watching this, I love you guys. You guys did a really, really great job with the Pan American Championships in 2022. And I know you guys are going to kill it with the Worlds, okay? But that flight is insane. Okay?
Yeah, it is.
I had a hard ass and it's just, oh my. And by the way, that was my full paycheck. I sacrificed a full paycheck to go there and I got pantsed, okay? So no, I don't want to go back.
Nah.
Well, let me tell you one thing. Like when I go on long flights, what I do is I'll try to stay up for like almost 24 hours before the flight. And then right before I go on the flight, I'll eat something like greasy. And that usually knocks me out for at least 3 hours.
Doesn't the plane ride like dehydrate you?
Yeah.
Especially if plane ride that long.
No. Actually, no.
Probably, but I don't know. I'm asleep for like
no.
the first
When
3
you
hours.
when you're in a long trip, because of the pressure, you get more liquid inside your body. Actually, that's why.
Oh, you retain more water.
You retain more water.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
When you are,
Sorry, I was mistaken.
in the long ones.
It kind of dries you out, but it makes you hold water and you
That's
can't lose it.
that's horrible. And I can tell because when like the USA team in 2015 in Indonesia, I fought in 60 and I remember I was in 58 kilos the day I depart to Indonesia. It was like a 27 hours. When I got there, man, I promise, I was like eating small ice, you know, every certain time, you know, just to not get dehydrated, and a little bit of fruit, a little bit of banana, whatever. When I got there in Indonesia, not only myself, everyone, like me, I was 3 kilos over. I was 63 kilos, man.
Well, maybe, just maybe, because you weren't drinking too much water, maybe your body started trying to hold on to water.
Exactly.
Because that's why water loading
Yeah,
is so secret, because then your body wants to get rid of water.
yeah, and now not only me, Mike Lee, Chen, Gary, Jorge. Man, we spent like, I remember I spent like an hour and a half in the sauna. My kidneys was killing me that night, and I
How
just
much before the weigh-ins did you get there? Like how many days before the weigh-ins did you get there?
one one day.
Oh yeah, that's not enough.
Yeah,
I think you gotta get there a couple days before, let your body kind of
yeah. It was
get rid of a little water.
it was really hard to be there. It was really hard because 27 hours and then delays and this and that. We did like a more than 30 hours to get to Indonesia. But
That's
well,
rough.
at the end we made it. And man, I was 59.9. I was the heaviest in my category. That's stupid. Not even China or something, man. Big legs. Like it was like I really felt bad. I really like I couldn't eat anything. Coach Lee was like
Did you have to
taking
weigh in
care.
every day?
Yes. Now actually that was the year when the daily weighing starts. It
Man,
was
I am
hard,
glad. I'm so glad I missed that part.
man.
I remember you were talking about Audrey, the first round of the brackets at Worlds last year. She ended up getting a bye, I think, against India,
Oh
and
yeah.
she has to unfortunately go through that painful process daily, right? Like you got to make weight at like 7 a.m. every day that you're
Yep.
competing, and of course because she got a bye, she didn't compete, right? And I think Max, you were saying as a commentator that that's not very safe for the fighters to exhaust themselves and expend all that energy to not fight. Like that's basically a waste, you know, and
Yeah,
it's not healthy.
it's not healthy, but I mean, there's different perspectives on that. You could say you'd be like, well, she still has to make weight, but I don't know. I think if they could spare them having to do that and just do it on the days that they fight, I think that would be better for the athletes for sure. But then again, it's like, but then she's got to fight someone that had to cut, that didn't have a bye, that had to cut weight the day before and had a fight. So I kind of get it at the same time.
Yeah.
After thinking about it a little further, like it's like, all right, well, at least she didn't have to fight.
You
So she saved her body that way a little bit. And yeah, I guess it does make it a little more fair because even though she didn't have to fight and the other girl had to fight, at least they both cut weight. I mean,
yeah. And the other thing is
it is what it is.
in when I in 2015 what I saw, it was like it was more fair because before the competition, before the worlds, I remember that actually the Iranian guys, they have to jump, to the other category because they couldn't make it. Like I can go down 5-8 kilos, and then because
Yeah,
I knew next day I'm going to rehydrate.
yeah.
So now they have to go. They jump to the other one.
They all went up a category. Interesting.
Exactly, because like because they knew they have to cut weight every day, but they need to take care about the weight. It
And
was
this is
very hard.
where things could have been good for me too, because like I think for most of my fight career, I didn't cut weight properly. I would just like I wouldn't even diet. I would just like literally go cut water and that was it.
Uh-huh.
But so I think I was usually on the smaller end of my brackets. I probably should have been fighting at 65 kilos now that I think about it. Because
You wasn't 65 kilos. That was your category, or 70?
I was fighting 70.
Oh,
But
70.
I've never weighed over 162. And like now that I actually diet a little bit, I diet like 4 days a week. That's it. 4 days on, 3 days off. Now that I lightly diet 4 days a week, I walk around about 155. Easy, like so I think I was fighting in the wrong category the whole time.
So you walk around at 70 kg, and if you were to still compete, you could cut down to 65, no problem.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
That's
I was fighting in the wrong. So like pretty much all my fights are either 155 or 165.
Hey, but you
That
also
was
medaled at World, right? So I mean, that's not bad though for 70 kg.
twice.
70
Yeah,
kg is
but-
where when the hard hitters start coming in. Like right after 65 is when you start to see people start to bang.
Yeah. So
Maybe I could have done a little better if I fought 65, but who knows? It is what it is now.
so the third question is, I think this is more for Matthew. Did any rule changes? Did any rule changes impact the sport?
Ooh, actually,
well-
I don't think that too.
Well, Max, actually, why don't you go ahead, because I feel like you being more experienced would be able to speak to what the competition and the rule set was like back then versus what it is now, and maybe I could jump in with my perspective after.
Okay, all right. Well, repetitive punching. In the beginning, you weren't allowed to throw hands like pop, 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 pop. You had to be like one shot and a kick, or 1-2 and then a kick, or something like that, which was like a ridiculous rule. I freaking hated that rule. I'm so glad they did away with that. I'm okay with them taking away the shin pads. That's cool. But what I find weird is that they still keep the chest protector. Which, I mean, if you're gonna take away the shin pads, just take away the chest protector.
It's
Like,
not
I
them. It's just for the sound.
yeah, I don't. You don't need the sound if you can drop someone easier. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, that big rule change though, with being able to just throw your hands however you want, not having to. I think it was like 2 punches and then you had to throw a kick. That was a ridiculous rule, and I think that made everyone's boxing probably worse. So now, people's hands are getting better in Worlds, which is what you want. You want stronger competitors. So to me, that was the best rule change. And
Yeah.
the shin guards, I could see argument for having them or not having them. I'm okay with not having them. But if you're going to get rid of the shin guards, I wish they would just get rid of the chest guards too. Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really see a point in that.
And you, Matthew, what about the any rule changes this year?
Okay, so to your point, Max, that rule set I believe is now being used for juniors, where
But it's not continuous.
What correct? So Edgar, to your point, it's no continuous punching. So it's one punch for exchange. And here's the thing: I understand why they would keep that rule set for juniors to make it safer, quote unquote. That constraint also forces you to be a little bit more creative about your combinations. So, for example, if you were to land one punch to the head, you could change levels and score to the body and then do like a low kick, right? It does encourage the skill of kicking a little bit more. I mean, you could make that argument. Granted, you have a shitty argument in terms of including the boxing, Max, to your point. But I mean, that rule set technically does still exist for kids. I do remember that when Worlds was first held in the U.S. in 1995, President Anthony Go was actually featured on an old edition of the City Sports Scene segment of Baltimore TV on July 26, 1995, right? And he was actually talking about that rule set. I think this is back when Kung Lee was still fighting. And he was like, oh, well, it's quite safe, as safe as something full contact could be. And I think back then it was called Central. But yeah, no, I also, from what I understand, there were 3-pointers in terms of the scoring system.
Oh, yes, there were.
Could you tell me what those were? Because
so 3-pointers were like high altitude throws. So like if you lift someone up all the way up in the air and then drop them down, then you would get 3 points. If you would get 2 points if you just you didn't lift them up, you just took them down but stayed standing, and then you would get 1 point if you landed on top. That's the way it was before.
Okay, so to your point, the Wushu Sanda rules today are much more simplified. So there are no 3-pointers anymore. It's just 1-pointers and 2-pointers, right? So
I think that's better too.
Really, what makes you think that?
It's just too subjective, and I like to take things that are too subjective out. You know what I mean? Like, if you lift them up, but maybe you don't get them high enough, maybe they give you the points, maybe you don't, maybe you think you're ahead, maybe, it's just way too subjective. And so that's why I'm okay with the 1 and 2 points. I think that's good. I don't like the lack of boxing in the juniors, even just because I feel like it leaves the junior fighters less prepared for what they're going to face when they become adults, and to me it just weakens that skill set. So, like, say someone else comes in from a boxing background, comes in and fights Sanda fighters, like they're going to find a lot more success with their hands. With a lot of these guys that are just coming into this new rule set where they can throw their hands, they're not going to know how to deal with that as well. Like, just like the way they've watered down judo by like not letting people grab the legs anymore.
Although
that's a huge weak point for them.
Although the IJF did recently update their rules, or at least Japan did, to allow certain leg grabs with a caveat. So they don't do morotegari or the double leg still, which is kind of weird. But they did recently update their rules this year.
Yeah, but I just feel like but then this weakens the art, because then if any of them ever go into just a regular grappling setting and they go against a wrestler,
yes,
they're going to have this huge gap in their game.
Correct.
So I'm just not a fan of anything that weakens the art.
Fair, that's fair.
And
yeah,
things that are too subjective.
Fair. The only other thing I would say to that is, I'm not sure about the clinch limit. Was the time limit for the clinch still 2 seconds back when you were fighting?
I think so. I think it was like 2 or 3 seconds.
Well, in the time before, like, and this is one of the things that I really want to mention about the clinching, the time, because if we know as a Sanda fighters, like in my case, I'm a judge, I'm a coach, I'm a former athlete, whatever. If we know in Sanda we have tryout takedowns, sometimes the fighter, if you're clinching, maybe you can wait 1 second to go or to try to take him down or to do some tryout thing. And many judges, they just finish that moment or the momentum of the fighter. And that's really bad. Like in my case, when I see someone clinching and I'm judging, I'm a platform judge, I always do 3 seconds before. I think they give you like a between 3 or 4 seconds, if I'm not wrong. Now, many judges, they just like 2 seconds thing. Hey, come on, man. Let him do it. Let him do something. Maybe that guy is good in tryout. Maybe that is the strong thing. It's not the weakness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because many fighters, they're good in tryout. Like I'm talking about Asian fighters. When I was training in Beijing, and I remember like in every clinch, I Wang Fangkung.
Oh, from Beijing?
Wang Fangkung, yeah. When I was his sparring partner, he always like clinching and then 1 second and like, hey man, what happened? So you're clinching, he just goes straight and then boom, do this. Like that's a tryout movement.
Max, I don't know if there's this caveat back when you were still competing, but there is a caveat to the rules today. And Corey kind of mentioned this in the online seminar series for the UCWKF. But if the judges are trained, they kind of let the clinch or tie-ups go on if the configuration or the specific tie-up changes. So like, for example, let's say you got like a 50-50 and Edgar, you like this takedown,
Yeah.
right? And I go for Shobietza, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I feel it and my opponent bases out, right? And then I go for Suobi or Suozhou, right? Which is the 2-on-1 Chinese elbow lock or arm lock, right? And I try to like direct him out, right? Well, that changes the tie-up from 50-50 to a Chinese 2-on-1, the Suobi, right? The arm lock, right? From Shuaijiao. Another example would be like, let's say, for example, I catch a kick, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, it's called Li Cao, right? The uppercut kick catch, I think is what Corey likes to call it. And then I do a leg drag. That resets the count. If the judge is trained, right? Now, sometimes that doesn't always happen. But I don't know, Max, did that ever happen in your case?
You know what? I'm not sure. I would say I don't think so. I think usually it was pretty much like 2 to 3 seconds, and they would just break us.
Okay.
But,
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I would say, but there is one thing that I really, really wish they would change is I feel like they're a little too strict about who touches the floor first. Like, if you were doing like a standard double leg takedown where you touch the knee, like you're gonna lose a point. Like, I don't think you should lose a point for that. Like, I remember I think I was fighting Macau. I think I've caught a few people with the scissor kick in Worlds, maybe one or two.
Did it score?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't realize at the time, but it actually scored against me. I realized years later.
Because of the down first policy. If you post with anything besides your own 2 feet,
so like I would catch them with my feet, but my shoulder would touch right before I took the person down, and they would get the point. I didn't realize I was losing points. I was doing that. I didn't really understand the rule set. Actually, my first couple Worlds, I didn't understand the rule set exactly, and I didn't know I was losing points when I did that.
Okay,
but
so
that's something I wish they would take out, because like you can't do sacrifice throws. Like, it's like you should be able to do like a lat throw. You have to be very careful. If you do a lat throw, if your shoulder touches a second before, you're going to lose a point. These are things that I think will like kind of weaken the art a little bit.
So to add on to what you said, one little nuance with push outs or ring outs off the Lei Tai is you can do sacrifice throws off the Lei Tai as long as there's clear separation. So okay, so that did happen when you were still competing. Okay, all right, that's cool. The last honorable mention that I'd like to bring up is back when Kung Lee was fighting in 1995. There's this old video of one of his fights on YouTube, and he is just throwing scissor kick after scissor kick, and he's also throwing ground sweeps. Right?
Oh yeah,
Chen sao tui, hou sao tui. We
call
them back sweep.
But that was
Chinese.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but that was in a professional match.
No. It was in Worlds.
Oh yeah. Well,
and believe it or not, he did. The referee, the platform judge, not only gave Kung Lee the points, he literally did this. So he got 2 points. He got, or at least I don't know if it was 2 or 3, but he got awarded full points for the scissor kick takedowns.
But that's the thing. If the technique allows, it's like you're doing something. Of course, like it's like the new rule that we can do the taolu, like when you sweep, like the circle one.
Right, the ground sweeps. If you that's the only exception you're allowed to post on the ground. However, here's the thing, that was
an exception.
Right, but it's also confusing to a lot of judges that are taking the training course, because if you just say in Chinese, posting with anything besides your own 2 feet in Chinese, in Wushu language, they call it 加支撑, using additional support, right? So like, let's say for example in Taolu, right, I do like a split landing and then I touch the carpet, right? That's additional support, right?
Yeah.
Sanda, if you do that at all, the points go to the other guy, right? So when you, but then there's this exception or a nuance where you can do it for ground sweeps only, and I think it's because they kind of want to keep the style of Chinese martial arts. However, it's a very, very low percentage technique, and it's very, very rare. To Max, to your point, I think it would be kind of cool if they brought back sacrifice throws, like just
I was about to talk about the
all due respect. I just think it would make it more entertaining.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
But if you do the sacrifice, you do the sacrifice throw, that's legal. You take him out. You take him the fight.
You mean off the Lei Tai. Off the Lei Tai.
You need to do it in the edge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take him out, because that's a technique.
I mentioned this in our last podcast together, Edgar, but when Corey was the coach for the U.S. Wushu Sanda team for Worlds last year, he was literally coaching the team during their training sessions, their national team training sessions, and said on the warm-up match, you literally could drop your knee to the ground and push the guy off. And as long as there's clear separation, you can do that off the Lei Tai.
Yeah, I know you could do that. But it's not the same as being able to double leg someone down like that or whatever.
Fair.
I think like I was talking about, because I think this question about the rules, how impact is a lot, because we've been talking about like if we really want like Sanda to be part of the Olympics, even Wushu, we need just to keep the rules as is. Because if we're changing rules like every single year, oh now we have this rule. Oh no, this rule was wrong because we saw many juniors have injured, or if we go that way, it's going to be impossible to have, like in boxing, man. In boxing, the rule. What is the rule? Go out, go to the head, go to the
The
body,
body.
whatever. And in Sanda, if you notice, even in juniors, I remember that there was a change this year. I don't remember what, because I was coaching the junior team and I was reading the rules, and something changed. And that's the problem. Like maybe because I went to take the certificate, the judge's certification, by IWF. Maybe I know, but not you, not Max. So when I'm judging, I'm going to score different, and that's where then there's the problem. Like not everyone, because they are trying. Like first they try in China. If in China works, then they adapt it to the world.
Yeah, every other member federation of the IWF follows suit after China.
Exactly, and that's. It's not about if it's terrific or not, but it's just about like, man, what about if we just do something general? Because many athletes,
In general.
like let's say, like just set up a rule and let's work in that process for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years. You see, if it works, don't change it, because that's why
Yeah.
many athletes lose fights
I understand. But
nowadays.
there's always room for improvement. Like I said, I'm so glad that they changed the rule about the boxing.
Yeah, yeah. So the fourth question is, what lessons can we take from 2024?
2024. And pertaining to what?
Well, lessons about like let's talk about development, fighters, if we did something wrong in Pan Am's, or if we did something wrong as coaches, because I have my lessons. I have my lessons learned really bad, as a coach, but at the end, I always adapt, as I also like assistant coach of the USA team. At the end, I always trying to adapt, with Coach Lee, and learn from my mistakes, and trying to go into the USA team needs, if I can say like this, or process. But what do you think about I don't know, Max or Matthew, if you have something, any answer about this, like what lessons can we take from 2024? And we're talking about any, not only athletes, coaches, team, judges, rules, some good thing before it's USA right now is hosting more events. And actually, Matthew, congratulations, because I know you were hosting in where, Washington, or what was that?
No, not me.
But
I was just a facilitator, but to be
you
very,
was
very
part of
clear,
it.
yeah,
You was part of it.
But to be very clear, it was my MMA coach, Coach Joshua Peters of Combat Principles MMA, formerly College Park MMA. Shout out to CPMMA. And I told this story in our last podcast, Edgar. Anyone that wants to hear it, you can go listen to that one. I worked with him and Master David C. Voorhees under Tian Shanpai Master David C. Voorhees under Grandmaster Dennis Brown, who's been very, very involved with the promotion of Wushu in the U.S. since, I'd say, probably the 80s or the 90s. To get that competition USWKF sanctioned with Laoshi Mark Lorenzo. And Mark was actually able to get an IWF Lei Tai. And actually, it was the one from Nationals, from 2023 Nationals, over to Maryland. So we have a Lei Tai now where we can start actually holding the full regulation Wushu Sanda style tournaments.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I want to say, stay tuned. Look forward to more events starting next year. I really hope to help facilitate more and more of these. So yeah, I do think that Sanda is starting to grow and boom a lot more. I feel like after Worlds, as stressful and as much of pentaple hatting I was doing there, it was kind of worth it, because after the IWF gifted us field of play equipment, right? So like more Taolu carpets, another Sanda Lei Tai, we're able to use that equipment as an investment for the growth of the sport in the country, right? So I don't think it's a coincidence that after Worlds we can start to grow the sport a little bit more. Granted, it's only been a year, so too soon to say, but we'll see. And I also think that Sensei Seth bringing some exposure to Sanda is a huge part of that as well. Getting some eyes to the sport is, in my opinion, the most important thing to growing it. And actually, I think Max, he ended up commentating alongside you and Mark for a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
In one of the sessions, right? I think it was like day 3 of the first session.
Sure, I don't remember.
How was that?
But
How did you feel working with him on that?
It was cool. Extra person talking like helps fill in the gaps even better. So that was fine with me. He was a cool dude. Fun working with him. So yeah, I was completely fine with it.
By the way, before I forget, I also had a couple questions that I wanted to pick your brain with. You commentated on the live stream at Worlds last year.
Just hold that for 1 second,
Yeah,
just because I want to get to what Edgar was asking.
Sure.
As far as lessons, I don't know about any lessons, but one thing I would like to see is that I would like to see Sensho kind of take a cue from what Muay Thai and MMA is doing, put on some like less tournaments and more single fights. Make a nighttime show out of it. That's how you're going to bring eyes to the sport.
Oh, like fight cards.
Tournaments, it's for viewers, is not good. It's too long, and like you don't. A lot of times, viewers don't leave with a good feeling after. They feel exhausted because it's just too much. It's too many fights. I find like the way you're going to get people excited to go see it and leave with a good feeling is you want between 5 and 7 fights. Maybe you could push it to 10 if you need to make some more money. But set up single fights and set things up where you can you maybe fly some guys in to fight, and that's going to make the pool grow. And I think that's going to bring more eyes to the sport because then people are going to feel good when they leave. After watching 5 fights, people are leaving with energy. They're happy. You know what I mean? Maybe put on 10 just to make more money for the venue and everything. But you get my drift. More is not always necessarily better. So if I think if Sensho could take a cue from MMA, boxing, and Muay Thai, and really just start putting on nighttime fights that people will come watch, get between 5 and 10 fights. People could stay as long as they want, then they bounce and they leave happy. And then, they'll tell their friends about it instead of leaving exhausted, watching. People don't want to watch 20. I don't want to watch 20 fights in one day, in one night. I'm happy if I watch between 5 and 7 fights and I can leave with some energy, not feel exhausted, and then you'll start getting better quality fights and everything. And I think that's what's going to help the sport grow, really.
Yep.
Tournaments are great, but we need more single fights, and it's good for the fighters too. It's good for the fighters too, not to have to fight 3, 4, 5 fights. They'll learn how to prepare for single fighters, things like that. I think it'll just help the whole sport grow. So now back to what you were asking. I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah, no problem. What I meant to ask was, I can't remember which fight this was, but you were commentating when someone during the standout competition at Worlds last year got a head and arm throw or a rear headlock throw, right? It was in Chinese it's called jiajing, right? It literally means neck clamp throw, right?
Uh-huh.
And you said that fun fact, you actually learned how to do a head and arm throw from Taiji Tuisho or Taiji push hands, and then Mark was like, I didn't know you knew push hands, right? And you were also a US Taiji push hands team member, is that correct?
I mean, kind of, yeah. I went to Taiwan, and my dad brought a couple of us over there to do some push hands over there. And it's, I would say as far as Taiwan goes, that's some of the most real push hands I've ever experienced. And to be honest, like I didn't do that well. I wasn't really willing to put that much time into it. I was really into my fighting then, so like I told him, I said I'm gonna partially train for this, but I didn't have any high expectation of winning because like I know I just didn't. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry. I didn't have any high expectations because I know those guys over there, they train like athletes. They are athletes, they train well. It's the only realistic push dance competition that I've been to. I've heard there's some really good ones in Chen Village, but the stuff they do here, honestly, is it's just not realistic at all. Like, it's all like this, like I said, I don't like subjective too much, and especially in combat sports. And in the US, it's all subjective. And like they say, oh, you're using too much force. They'll dock points if they feel like you're using too much force. And I'm like, well, listen, if someone is using too much force and their opponent is not good enough to handle that, then their opponent should still lose. Like, you shouldn't dock someone for using too much force. You should just be better than them and be able to deal with that. And if you can't deal with that, then you should lose. But in the States, it's not like that. But in Taiwan, it's just much more realistic. Like like when you're doing moving step, it's either you throw the guy down or you push him out. It's really that simple. You know what I mean? Or if you're doing fixed step, if your foot moves, you lost a point. That's it. How you get there, how you win, that's up to you. But it's a lot less subjective, which I like, and I think it brings more of a realistic combat part to Tai Chi and push hands. I think just too many people, especially in the U.S., have their heads in the cloud. They claim they could do things that they can't do. Like like I know some of my dad's students. I've known them for years. They say they can move people without touching them. I know that's not true. I know they can't do that. You know what I mean? But I don't know where these people's heads are at, and just it's like it makes Tai Chi look bad. And I think if they start bringing some like realistic competitions, push hands competitions like that to the U.S., most people here would lose, but then the level would start going up, little by little.
To your point. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was about to say, I'm not sure if that was your question, but I kind of went off.
No. I really appreciate your insight. In terms of the Tai Chi Chuan competition scene.
Yeah.
I was actually kind of following a couple of the experienced Tai Chi Chuan full contact fighters and push hands competitors recently. So it's kind of one of my old loves that I'm kind of rekindling now. But to your point, you're actually anyone that really knows you and is a fan of you, like myself, knows that you're a son of Grandmaster William C.C. Chen of the Zheng Manqing or Chen Manqing, as Americans like to call it, style of Tai Chi Chuan, which is an offshoot of Yang style Tai Chi Chuan.
Yep.
And I remember Jan Lucanis had a social media post where he said that you had problems with the sport of push hands, but you still had there were still skills that you used from your Tai Chi Chuan Foundation. And in your first interview with Tai Chi Salon, you were asked about if there were any techniques from the form that you found useful, and you said not a lot, but the martial principles are still there. And I believe the if I recall correctly, the example you used was the movement Hai Di Zhen or Ni Let Si Ban, right? It looks like this.
Yeah.
Which is has the same mechanics as hip throw. Aside from that example, I wanted to ask you, were there any other examples of fighting principles that you found useful from traditional Tai Chi Chuan?
All right. So I think a big thing which I feel like a lot of people don't pay attention to, which I don't know, for one reason or another, just because maybe I'm weird or something, I don't know. But one thing I pay attention to is the footwork and the weight distribution. And I think that lines up with the martial principles or sport principles all around. Like, so it's like a lot of times, like when I step, right, I'll try not to move my hip. So I start to learn. So you start to learn what your natural range is for your steps. And then it takes a little bit of the guesswork out of how you should step. So for example, like beginning of the form, what I'll do is like I'll shift my hip to the side. Now a lot of people won't do this. They will shift their hip to the side, but what I'll do is I'll lock my knees out. And then when my hip is shifted over onto my right leg, because they always say like step about, some people say hip width, some people say shoulder width, right? But if we're going to go with hip width, which is what I decided to go with when I do my form, right? The way I get my hip width is I keep my hip over my right leg, and then I'll step out with locked out knees. I'll step out with my left leg, and as far as it comfortably can go, and I don't move my hip at all, and I put my foot down. That always gives me this pretty much the same step, and it's always going to be about my hip width. So like this way, I'm learning how to not step out of my range, but how to find, and also how to find my maximum range. So the next move is, I'll turn my foot out and I step straight forward, but then, I'm keeping track of where my foot's going. I want my foot to go straight, but since my foot is turned out, and when I watch a lot of people, because their foot is turned out, a lot of times they'll lean over and then their foot, so if I can give you a little visual here, like your feet are about hip width. So you want your foot to go out and go straight. What a lot of people do is they'll turn the foot out and they're not paying attention. Their foot goes in. So then you're too narrow. So what I'll do is I'll pay attention to that. I'll leave my hip back on this leg and I'll step forward as far as my leg can go without moving my hip. Because once you move your hip forward, then you could take too large of a step. But if you leave your hip back and then you just move your leg forward, then you find your maximum range there as far as you should comfortably go. You see what I'm saying? And I'm also keeping that base here, not letting my foot go in, stepping straight forward. So this way, now I have a well-balanced step. So
go ahead. Yeah.
I feel like that helps you with footwork, learning what the proper ranges are for your body, because Edgar and I are not going to have the same range as far as legs. So if I tell him to step out 3 feet, because that works for me, it's not going to work for him. This way, he's going to find his own range for his body type as well. So I think that, along with like learning how to shift your weight, have a solid base first, and then execute the move. So these things are martial principles that you can learn from Tai Chi. So footwork and how to get a solid base and then execute a move.
Okay. So in terms of weight distribution, the details really do matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you were on the Sancho team under Kung Lee as the head coach, I remember seeing a documentary called Coaching for Gold. I think it's on Elena Maxwell's YouTube channel. Yeah. And it was when you guys went to Vietnam. Yeah. It was when you guys went to Vietnam. And I believe one of the last training sessions before you flew out, there's footage of you sparring with Kung Lee.
Oh yeah, he's throwing around like crazy.
Yeah, and you literally said to the camera, "Be sure to send my body."
Yeah.
Nice box. And then Kung Lee goes, "Max should know I'm here to coach him, not kill him." And you're like, "What's the difference, right?" Yeah. And he keeps lifting you, and then you're like, "I meant to do that. I meant to do that too." Right? Yeah. What was that like training under Kung Lee?
Oh, it was great. I got to say, like, it really helped me. It really helped me get my shit together. Because to be honest, like the first couple of years, I trained like, oh man, I trained like shit for my first couple of fights. Like I literally like my first full contact fight. Let me tell you guys, I was 16 years old. I had just gone on vacation with my parents. I came back. I found out there's a fight 3 days later. I signed myself up, 0 training. And it was basically an amateur MMA fight. It was punch, kicks, knees, and grappling. I never grappled before. I never even had a full contact fight before. So I went to that fight. Obviously, I got taken down. I got armbarred, rightly so. And then the next fight, I trained maybe 3 days a week for 4 weeks for my second full contact fight. It was a kickboxing fight, American kickboxing fight. And I only sparred. And so, like, for the first couple of years I was fighting, I didn't even hit pads. I barely hit pads. I was mostly just sparring with people. But I will say this: every fight I got slightly more serious.
Yeah.
I'm pretty lazy, so I was trying to do the bare. To be honest, I was trying to do the bare minimum. I was like, I can get away. I could fight with this, and I think I got a little lucky in my competition because I was able to still be competitive. Luckily, but yeah. So, like, my first time going to Kung Lee's gym was the first time I got my dose of, like, what actual training should look like. And I was like, oh shit, this sucks. But
Yeah.
then I started learning and adopting that.
I
I started
got
doing
you.
more pad work. Started, doing like, I did a lot of things that I was showing, like, with the fitness and everything too. Like, I was lifting weights, but they showed me some things that were really good. Some good cardio stuff, like doing sprint pulls with a harness. So yeah, it was my first look at, like, the way you're supposed to train for fighting, and it really helped me a lot.
Good. Yeah, guys. So yeah, man, like everything you're telling, like to everyone who's watching this video, to all the audience, even if we're talking about the highlights of 2024, what Max is just telling us, it's something that we have to take it very, very serious. No, because he's just telling about techniques, and those type of techniques is going to help for the next question. And honestly, Matthew, I appreciate that you just uh did this with Max, because the next question is about, the last question actually is about, how will 2024 shape Sanda's future? And I think that is a huge answer what just Max says. And why I'm talking about 2024 shape, the Sanda's future in US, because we need to learn more about, the as Max mentioned about, like, it's not gonna be the same thing what I'm going to do that Edgar's gonna do. The range, the how to move in the technique. And I think that's really is a basis, or is a basic a lot that we hope in the wrestling part. In my answer to this question, it's 2024 helps to the USA team to understand that they are really getting in a good development. We have new kids, we have new juniors, we have a solid adult team. We have Mackenzie, we have Vincent, we have Audrey, we have Bruce, Jaden also. He's just actually the new guy in the team in the 60 kilograms. And I think that is a really good experience, for the guys who just coming. And in my case, in my position as a coach of a team, it's, I learn a lot from the nationals, and I learn a lot from Pan Ams. I learn a lot. Now, Max and Matthew mentioned something about, I think more Max, he was mentioning something that is a reality for us. Since Sanda is not that sport like Muay Thai, MMA, boxing, we need to spend a lot of money to go and to compete. And I'm very, very happy that US is getting more and more competitions every year. We have Arizona. We have two in Arizona, and then we have the New England, like a month ago.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Nice.
we have the Washington one, like with Matthew. We have Maryland. We have Lubbock. We have, like, now in the future, San Antonio, Texas. Okay, here. um, and I think, like, there's the development, but unfortunately, many people can make it. And I'm talking about financially speaking. So many people, we have to focus, and I'm talking by myself. We have to focus on the main one, like the team trials, and the World Pan Ams. But what do you think, Max? Because you've been mentioning really good things about, even because you're better, and you was mentioning about when you was training with Kung Lee and then with Coach Lee. That transition, I think, helps a lot for the new generation, because when we're talking about transitions, about coaching head coaches, it's a big thing. And we're talking about the USA team. I think the USA team in this moment, we have a lot of opportunities in talking about world class, I think, and I hope in the future. I know Coach Lee, he did it before with the team, with his team, but I think it's gonna be a good chance in the future if we take the USA team and we prepare the team to take them to China or other countries to have that matches. You know what I mean? Like maybe USA against Brazil, USA versus Mexico, USA versus China, USA versus something like that. And I know it's not easy financially speaking, but I think and I believe that's going to be a huge motivation for the athletes. That's my answer. Go.
All right. Well, so I think that's a good idea, but like I would, since you just got a new Lei Tai, like if you can start putting on some like maybe local fights, but like I said, do it like Muay Thai and
Like
May
fight
does it. Yeah, do a fight card. Do a fight card. You could start local, and then as things grow, you could start bringing in people from other states and stuff like that.
Even
But yeah,
smokers.
yeah, and smokers and everything like that. Yeah, do that.
MMA, to their credit, did hold a smoker that was both Muay Thai and Sanda.
Oh, no shit.
So
Nice.
so that was pretty cool. They did one in, I think, the grand opening of the gym that we moved to a new facility recently at the end of last year, and then I believe at the earlier in the year we had the smoker, and we're trying to do more. We just need to find more opportunities. Coach Josh, full credit to him, he's all about promoting Sanda. So that's part of the reason why I'm with him, and I hope that we can do that in the near future.
Yeah, so yeah, I think some nighttime Sanshou matches, just pair them up, not a tournament.
Well, see,
Like,
now that this is being recorded, I will 100% forward this to him for his consideration, and I'm sure he'll be open to it.
Yeah, because I that's the only way I can see the sport growing. It just the tournaments alone is just not going to do it. The tournaments are not viewer friendly.
Fair.
And I don't believe we're going to bring in fans. Like, K1 did tournaments for years, and they eventually fizzled out. Boxing has been going forever, and that's because I think it's a lot due to their business model, where and UFC as well, and Muay Thai, because they put on single fights, and then that way you can get more people in, more people wanting to see this stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Matthew?
Yeah, so again, Edgar, I apologize. I didn't mean to monopolize.
No, don't apologize. This
how
is
dare
your
you?
podcast too.
I'm sorry. But to circle back to the previous question, and to the last question you just had in terms of lessons learned in 2024 and what we can take away from this year. Not to be condescending, but I remember in my very first podcast with you, I talked about what are some keys to success, right? And the main thing that I had led with, which I think was my last answer to your final question at the end of that podcast, was set your expectations, right?
Yeah.
Set your expectations so that you can understand what you're going into to, give yourself a path to success, right? So what I mean by that is, if a coach is fielding athletes to a Sanda competition, I mean, it would behoove you to clearly communicate the rules, right? So like, for example, if you're fighting on a Lei Tai and you know that 2 push-outs or 2 ring-outs ends the round, you should probably tell your athlete that, right? Like, they shouldn't know that the day they go out to fight. That's a problem, right? And so I think that clearly communicating all the rules, all the expectations, and being able to do sport-specific drills, right? If I know that I'm going to be fighting on a Lei Tai format and I don't want to get pushed out, right? And I want to be able to still score points, well, how am I going to do that, right? Am I a striker? Am I a wrestler, right? Sanda is one of those, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
rare hybrid combat sports that combine striking and stand-up wrestling to a limited extent, right?
Yeah.
So, am I going to rack up points as a wrestler, with continuous takedowns? Is that going to, expend my gas tank, or am I going to be more of a striker where I sort of pot shot? I go in and out, right? What is the best chance for success, right? And are you going to mix both strategies? Who knows?
And you know what? Something that I learned when I was when I had the opportunity to train in China is something that I noticed. It's in the south they have their own style. In the north they have their own style. East, west they have their own style. And something that I always notice is every year I go, they change the strategy. But why? Because they said, okay, I always ask coach, hey coach, why now we doing this? I remember one day, I think it was 2015, before Indonesia, we focused a lot in the tryout, and they brought two coaches. One of them, he was one of the best tryout coaches from China, and old guy, really good one. And we focused only on tryout, and he said, well, we lost some of the gold medals because of tryout. So we noticed that we were lacking on that, even if we're good. But the guy that we fought, I don't know, Shanghai, whatever, Hanoi, Hanoi is Vietnam. I'm sorry, whatever. They were using a lot of tryout. So now we need to focus this year because now we need to change the strategy. So every year they change strategies, and that's a cool thing. Because what we are looking here in America, and I'm talking about the continent, the same fight, the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. And that is something that I do with my students. Like, hey, why you lose this fight? Oh, because he was taking me down. Okay, now we're gonna do this month only takedowns, and then next month try out, and then sparring with takedowns and sparring with tryout. So why? To create a muscle memory in that kind of fights. And that's a kind of a strategy. It's something that I learned, and something that it helps, and it was helping me. And I think in US for 2025, in the worlds in Brazil, and I promise you guys, I promise you, because we saw that in Dallas, they gonna use a lot of takedowns, a lot of kicks, like catching kicks, takedowns, catching kicks, push out, catching. I promise you that, because that was like a pattern that I was look like that I saw in Dallas. I don't know what you think about that, guys.
No, sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
hope so to everyone who is watching this video or this podcast on Spotify or YouTube. Um, I really, I hope, guys. I hope if you really want to, like, message, like send your message, whatever, comments about how to or whatever, guys. I promise you, I'll do my best to do a video. I'll ask Max, Matthew, whoever, like, who wants to participate, because we need to do this. Like, we need to help more people. There's a lot of kids. Unfortunately, we can see a lot of guys who's coming from karate background, and they're fighting Sanda, and what happens? This is not for me, and they leave. So what can we do to bring more people? This the podcast is not only to know about people's life or sacrifice. It's more about, like, what they doing to be the best, like Brazil, like how many like Lebanon, man. Lebanon is a monster. And you know
Yeah.
what? If you watch the podcast that I had with Michel, and with the coach of Lebanon, they're gonna tell you, you know how they train? By phone.
Oh,
With
really?
the
Wow.
Yeah, like, you're in Canada, you are here, you're in France, you're there, you need to do this. Send me the video. Man,
Interesting.
yes, it's interesting, but you know what? It's because they really want it. because even if they're in different country and they're gonna met in any country who's gonna be the hosting the world, they have a process. They have a training process. They respect the process. And no matter where you at, you always respecting your coaches. You always in contact with your coaches. You always mention your coach what you're doing wrong. What is your diet? What time you are waking up? Where you're training? Why you're training? There's many people who are training in the multi facility because they know Sanda. They not even know
Yeah,
about Sanda.
yeah, that's true.
And
I'm always
Max,
surprised when people know.
yeah, Max, you can tell me about that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
focus more in multi, right?
Well, like I said, like when I was like towards like after like 2005, like most of my fights were Muay Thai fights. Um, because I couldn't find any essential fights around here. So anytime I
Yeah,
fought local, it was all Muay Thai fights.
yeah,
But
and
that's
you have
why,
to.
like like what you're saying is good, and I think the other big thing is like just going back to what I was saying before is like if you promote shows like Muay Thai does, where they have single fights, I think that's going to broaden the audience and bring more athletes in as well,
Yeah,
and then that will in turn just make everything grow.
yeah.
But I think that's the first key.
And everything is about marketing. It's not about.
That's true too.
It's honestly, guys. It's I've been doing this for years. I'm 39 right now. And everything is about marketing. That's why Taekwondo is what it is. That's why MMA it is what it is. That's why multi it is what it is. And we have a really strong USAWKF here in US. Honestly, they've been doing really good. Matt is part of it. I'm part of it in the technical side. And every year we are growing. Every year we are growing. Their ideas, their this. I think we still need to work on in some things, in technical things like bringing more coaches. Not only because because your athlete is part of the team, come and coach. Maybe you know nothing about Sanda and you are there coaching. And that's
Yeah,
that's the reality. It's like, man, we need just like Sanda coaches. It's gonna be in the team, because they know about the sport, they know about the rules, and because they know maybe like, hey, you're losing because they are taking you down, and maybe you are like, no, go, 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 be first, man, go kick. No, no, that's some of the things that maybe we can work on the future, and I hope so, and I'm always open to helping the technical side. I love this sport, and I hope one day wushu can be part of the Olympics. I hope so because we've been working so hard, and 2024 was a huge year in Sanda, but not only US, like I'm talking about the world. Like we had a lot of competitions. There was like a lot of competitions. Like actually, Matthew, we had the BRICS games.
the what games?
Yeah.
The,
So
the
BRICS
BRICS
being
in
BRICS.
Russia.
Yeah, it was in Kazan, Russia, where the 2017 World Wushu Championships were held. That's where Jason Liu, my Wushu senior who fought 56 kg before me, fought. Actually,
Okay.
Max, I think he went to you to train in New York in your classes. This would have been like over 10 years at this point.
Yeah, I probably don't remember.
That's okay.
I
But yeah, no.
remember.
BRICS basically stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and
China. The-
South Africa, I think. There are a couple other countries that are a part of that kind of group, but they basically got together and put together a series of games for
But
different
guys,
sports. Yeah,
do you see the level on BRICS games,
it's pretty much world level, honestly.
bro? Honestly, it was
Never thought.
world level class. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
They also have Iran, Egypt, and Ethiopia. So
Iran, Egypt,
yeah,
like the
top
strong
players.
one.
Top players.
China, like really, it was amazing competition. It was amazing. Like if you guys, if you're watching this and you still not just go and do BRICS Sanda games or bricks game and do Sanda in YouTube, and you will
Was
find
it BRI what?
BRICS.
CS, yeah.
CS?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bricks.
man,
Okay.
it was a high level class. It was beautiful. Like
Here, let me just drop a link in the chat.
I
for you guys.
remember one of the Russian guys, man, he was killing
Nice.
it.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
basically the third wheel here. I'm Jamie on the Joe Rogan Experience. So hey, Matt, pull that up. That's
yeah.
what I am.
So that's one of the things that 2024 gave us, and I think the next year Brazil is going to be a huge world competition. It's going to be why? Because as you mentioned before, Max, because many countries couldn't make it. They can make it
Yeah.
to compete. So imagine they're hungry.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're hungry, man. India, uh, China, and who else? Iran, Egypt. Because I remember they actually the Egypt team they come from Canada.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right. A lot of them do.
yeah, they came from Canada
Yeah.
because there's like people from Egypt, and they came to represent Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah. Even some came from New York.
Man, exactly. It was like amazing, man. It's like, hey, I'm going to represent my country. That's awesome. So just imagine the level that we're gonna see in Brazil. I really want to go, even if I just go as just as a regular guy. I really want to go because it's going to be amazing, man. It's going to be something crazy. Dionisio is doing well in Brazil. Marcus, Paula, all the Brazilian guys, they are killing it because honestly, man, in all the continent, Brazil is the one who's just developing the Sanda, but crazy. They have a lot of competitions. They have the Brazil games. They have the professional Sanda Cup. Man, they have a bunch and a bunch and a bunch of competitions every month or every 2 months. That's why they are what they are.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
That helps.
I believe Brazil just hosted a professional Sanda event. They called it
Yeah,
Kung Fu
against China.
Extreme Fight X, as in like
Yeah.
they replaced the EX with X, like it's the 90s. But yeah, I believe Joao Oliveira, who was the aforementioned Pan American champion,
Yeah.
fought there, and he did unfortunately lose to China. But I mean, here's the thing: I haven't seen the live stream. I probably should. But yeah, no, I'm
Me
pretty
too.
sure this is the exact. It's okay, Max. This is exactly what you're talking about, Max. These are fight cards, not tournaments. They're professional level. They
Professional
remove
level.
they remove the protection of the chest protector, I believe, and
Only for
and the
me.
headgear as well. And they just have matchups.
Yeah, yeah. Like there's the Brazilian guy from I think 56 kilos or 52 kilos. The Brazilian guy, man, actually he won against China. He was the only Latino.
Oh,
Yeah, he was the only Latino who won against China, and I really like because after the Pan Ams they invite even one of the Mexico team, and I don't remember who else. It wasn't only Brazil. It was Brazil, Mexico, and I don't remember. I think Argentina in the female, and I don't remember who else against China. And actually, I think it was like the C team from I don't remember, but man, even even the W team from China is good. I don't like they're good, and they came to compete to America, and they are giving us the chance to. Oh, actually, this is the guy. This is the guy that I'm talking about.
Was he
can't see what
52
you're pointing.
kg?
From Brazil. Yeah, I think it's 52 kg.
52.
Yeah, he fought the one of the juniors in the Pan Ams because the this guy he hasn't uh he had no one in the bracket, and he helped him. But man, this guy is amazing. He's very fast. His speed is amazing. Really powerful kid. He was in the junior team before. He just jumped to the adult, and he's fighting in a really scary level. So I think
But wait.
I'm sorry,
But wait.
uh 52 kilos, I think.
Okay.
Did he fight Ryan Liu?
or 56. I don't remember.
If he fought Ryan Leo, he was a 56 kg fighter.
Okay, 56. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think 56. So okay, whatever. So I learned a lot from this year from in Sanda. I think every year is good. I still have like the memory from Dallas because it was an amazing world championships. I heard a lot of good things. Actually, after that, I still having people from other countries texting me like, "Hey man, if you do again, do it again. It was amazing. It was a good championship. Everything was organized in the Sanda." I really don't know about the Taulu, but in the Sanda one, it was like everything like a clock, like tick tick tack. We didn't stop.
Oh, that's good.
We did a really good job from like everyone in the Sanda area. We did a really good job, even with the training areas. Matt and I, we were there with Mr. Fu from the owner of Wessing. We were doing everything there 2 days before, one day before, and it was an amazing competition. And guys, before we leave, I really appreciate. I don't know. Before we leave, Max, if you want to say something, Matthew, you want to say something just to say goodbye to 2024.
Max, before you go, there was one last personal question that I
Sure.
wanted to ask, if you don't
Go ahead.
mind.
Go ahead.
I
As a matter
heard.
of fact, I do. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I heard a rumor from my last wushu coach, last wushu taolu coach, that when you got bronze at Worlds and you flew back to the U.S., you didn't have anybody to pick you up at the airport, and you threw your medal.
I mean, I won bronze twice, so I don't know which time you're
Okay.
talking about. But
Okay. But there was
go on.
nobody there to pick you up at the airport, and you basically threw your medal away. Is that true?
No, I never threw my medal away. I still have it.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Then I don't know where he heard that from, but basically it was the takeaway for me was just wow, like the work that you did. It really. And I've said this to you at Worlds, and I'll say it again. Like, we do truly stand on the shoulders of giants, and you really did a thankless job competing and representing for our country in a sport that nobody's ever heard of.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you're here so that we can kind of pick your brain and help tell your story. But I mean, on a more positive note, I'm very, very happy to see that you are now offering standout classes again. Is that under your father's school?
No, actually, my father's school closed down 2 years ago. I'm actually trying to put a business plan together now to open my own gym.
Okay.
I'm doing a pretty bad
Congrats.
job of it, but it's got to start
Man,
somewhere, right?
congrats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. Do you see yourself fielding athletes for standout competitions in the near future?
You have to.
I mean,
You have to.
that's always in my plans. Just like it's life's been a little bit crazy in the last couple of years, so I'm still trying to get.
Man, you
get
have
things
to. Man,
together.
you have to. You have to,
Yeah.
bro.
But I mean that's always in my plans. But whether it happens sooner or later, it's definitely going to happen. That's for sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, just to let you guys know, to look ahead for the next year, Coach Josh is trying to work on putting together a Sanda event in Maryland in the first quarter of the next year, late March, I believe. It's where the first amateur sanctioned Muay Thai event from Maryland was held. So yeah, Max, you're going to be one of the first ones I let know if there are any more Sanda events, and again, I'll take I'm taking your feedback into consideration to make it a successful event.
Yeah, let me know anytime there's any essential events anywhere. I mean, I probably won't be able to make a lot of them, but I'll make what I can make.
Man, I have a last question before we leave.
Yeah.
Your teacher. Your teacher, bro. Your teacher.
Oh, my T-shirt. Oh yeah.
Man, tell us about that, please.
Is that Bruce Lee's Game of Death jump shoot
Yes, sir. It is.
with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's
That's his
footprint on
foot.
there?
Oh my God, I love it.
I think I got this from Damn, I think remember that magazine, Tiger or something?
Oh yeah,
Tiger
Tiger
Claw?
Claw, no,
Yeah, I think they were
Tiger
selling
Claw
these a
makes
couple years back.
these?
bro.
Yeah, I think actually, I
What?
think they gave this to the team for free one year, probably 2005. I'm thinking this old
My
ass shirt.
God,
Still in pretty good shape though.
man, I never seen that before, and it's really awesome. You know, I saw
Yeah,
that you have the Bruce Lee teacher, and then I saw that like, is that a
I
kick?
just happen to wear this today too.
Oh my God, it's amazing, man.
Yeah,
Guys,
it's a fun pair.
before we leave, do you want to wish some like a happy new year for people? You have any motivational words? Something that you wanna share, Max, before we leave?
Uh, Listen, it's been a great, crazy year, busy year for me. Listen, I hope everyone does well. Stay on that grind. Uh, you got to persist. Keep pushing forward. Remember, got to suffer the right way so you don't have to suffer the wrong way. So, suffer the right way. Keep pushing, and good luck.
Thank you, Matthew.
No, yeah, Edgar, you probably know just as much as I do. It was a busy year for Wushu, busy year for Sanda, just busy year for us in general. I hope that we can continue to do more next year. Again, too soon to say, we don't really know, but I do hope that we can continue to achieve more and help grow the sport for the next generation. And make things better, to Max's point. Make sure that the hard lessons that you learned, that the next generation doesn't have to go through again.
Yeah, that's a good advantage. Thank you, man. And I just want to mention that I'm very happy for like having people like you in this podcast, because again, this podcast is for you guys. It's for all the Sanda lovers and the whole world. I feel good that I have for everyone who was in this podcast this year, even from Hong Kong, Lebanon, and others. Like I had people waiting in this podcast, but for any for some personal reasons, I couldn't make it. But now I'm back, and thank you guys for everyone who's watching this podcast, for everyone who's listening this podcast. Thank you guys, because without you, this is not possible. Again, I'm not doing this for money, of course not. I'm doing this because I love it. Like think like Max and Matthew and like anyone else in this sport. Thank you for gave us, for all the athletes from USA. Thank you for gave us the gold medals in Pan Am's, for to sacrifice everything to be there in the team, because it's not easy to be there. I've been there. Max was there. Matthew was there, and we know it's not easy. But I really wish you the best in the next year, because if you're watching this and you're planning to go any Sanda competition in the US, please go, because you can make the difference. And I'm not talking about people. We're talking about like maybe you are that champion of the new generation for the USA team. Maybe you can be that next coach of the USA team. We don't know, man. But if you're here watching this video, for some reason you still here. And because you still need like never stop dream like your dreams. If you really want to be in the team, and I'm talking about Sanda, I'm not talking about any other sport. If you really want to practice this sport and you don't know how, contact me or contact them. Max is in New York, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, and Matthew, you are
Maryland.
in Maryland, and I'm in Texas. And honestly, guys, we're here to help you. We love you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and happy New Year, guys, and be
New Year.
happy. Happy New Year, Matthew. Happy New Year, Max, and
Thank you.
Happy New Year. Feliz Año Nuevo a todos en Latinoamérica. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí y muchas gracias por seguir en este podcast que es para ti, que prometo tener más invitados en español también, y prometo traer más gente que pueda hablar más de este deporte para ustedes que están en Latinoamérica y que son también una gran diferencia. Thank you guys. I love you guys. Please don't go, and see you next year with new interviews with other athletes. And actually, I have one of the Lebanon fighters too waiting for the podcast, one of the Argentinian fighters too. So we're gonna have a good podcast next year in January and February. Thank you guys. Please don't go.
Happy New Year, guys.
Okay.
Work hard, stay humble, stay safe.
See ya.
1, 2, 1, 2, and